Hey guys.
Hey, it's
So
been a while.
it has been. I feel like I have been on an entire journey up until like this week has just been like,
I know, it's been crazy.
look at this. Look at the
That
monstrosity that
is
is these
insane.
sticky notes. I have been
That
on.
is insane.
It's an emotional roller coaster. I'm telling you that much. Like I replaced my pink emotional overload sticky notes 3 times. I ran out again. Since the last time I told you that I ran out.
Oh my gosh,
Also, I
dude.
have a video in my drafts of me like in the middle of bawling my eyes out that I was gonna post to YouTube. It was a short, and then I never did. So I might
Oh yeah,
totally post that and just be like, "Hey, fair warning, this book is very sad." But yeah,
that's funny.
so I am. I'm not
I
done with
actually
it
have two
yet.
videos in my drafts,
I am.
so
I am 2 chapters. I'm on chapter. Let's see. I'm on chapter 120, 119 of 120, and 120 is the last chapter. So,
bro, 900
unless
pages in a single book, like that in a month. Like, oh my gosh, that is epic
unless
accomplishment right there.
unless something ridiculously intense happens in the last 2 chapters, I feel like I'm fine. But my anxiety is kind of like, yeah, something's gonna happen, and I'm
Yeah.
like, um. And there was something that I was like completely freaking out to you about while you were at like a family Christmas, and it was the funniest thing. And I don't even want to say
Mhm.
it. I don't even want to say what it is because eventually you'll get there, and eventually you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, and you're gonna be flipping
Yeah.
out just as much as me. So I can't say a single thing about it.
Yeah,
Um,
that's the fun thing.
but for those of you that
Oh
want
my
to
gosh.
know, I will give a chapter. I will tell you what chapter it's in. It is chapter 99 of Kingdom
Big
Bash.
number.
Chapter 99. For those
That's
of you that
funny.
have finished and want to know what I'm referencing, 99.
That's cool.
Oh, my goodness.
It's a
I'm telling you
lot.
what, I have been on a roller coaster these past 2 days. I feel like I'm coming off of a
Yeah.
high right now. Like, that's where I'm at. Oh.
Meanwhile, my experience was a little somewhat different.
I mean, book
So,
one is, it's the beginning.
yeah. So, I did finish Throne of Glass. I was
Okay.
happy with it. I feel like I was trudging through mud. The ending, like the middle of it after she gets to the tunnels, I've said this before, really picks up. But then I feel like I said this in one of my shorts, but I don't think I've told you anything about my thoughts on this. So I feel like the twist, like the mystery solution twist thing, was like the most obvious thing. I called it from like the very beginning.
Okay,
And so
spoiler
when they
alerts.
set up,
Spoiler alert. What are you talking about? Like, what part
okay,
was predictable?
um, who the murderer was, who murdered everybody.
Oh,
It was basically Kane. And it's like, well, duh, it was Kane. Like we knew it was Kane as soon as he was introduced into the story. I
yeah.
feel like it being she because she thought it was Princess Nemia for a while, and I thought,
Mm-hmm.
oh, that's gonna be a neat twist. Like what a twist,
Yeah.
right? And then it was like, never mind, it's not Nemia, it's just Kane. It's always been Kane. It was like the most obvious thing, and
Mm-hmm.
so that it was 3.5 stars up until that point, and the Kane reveal was like, okay, never
Yeah.
mind, it's a 3 star
Okay,
read
my
because it's
next
just so
question.
basic. Yeah.
What he used in that situation, like what he was doing, did you predict that?
I mean, it kind of seemed obvious that it was Kane summoning some sort of creatures from some other world to kill everybody because that's basically kind of the setup and the whole point of it. So I feel like it wasn't that shocking at all. You know what I'm saying? Like um
I'm just
I'm
trying to
trying to
figure
remember some of
out.
the details.
I'm just trying to figure out when exactly it gives a big hints to that. I
It
don't
was a
know.
creature, and she goes down there, and like the scene where the goddess first appears to her in the tomb or whatever, and she talked about how this door was opening and there's a creature and all that stuff. It was like, okay, there's somebody summoning a creature to kill off all the competition, and it's probably Kane, and that's why he's been getting
Hmm.
stronger. So at least to me, from my perspective, it was pretty obvious what was going on. And so when I got to the whole thing where she thought it was Nemia, I was like, oh, okay, maybe it's not Kane, maybe it is Nimia, but I can't figure out why she would do that. And like that's an interesting twist.
Hmm.
And so they had me going for a while, and then it's like, never mind, it's just Kane.
Yeah.
So, um, So for me, it was like basic. It's interesting that she basically, again, we're talking spoilers here, so just kick forward or I guess we can't because it's live stream. But
just
anyway,
mute, and then we'll give you a thumbs up when we're done.
Yeah. So now I can't just do a thumbs up at random. I'm like, grab the book so I don't do it. It was interesting that she kind of broke up with Dane at the end of the book. Or not Dane. I don't know what I'm talking about. That's Fourth Wing.
I was gonna say,
who? Dorian.
I'm like, because I've got everybody in this one, so I'm like, if there's a Dane, I would know about it at this point. It's like there's no Dane. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah,
continue.
She broke up with Dorian at the end of the book, and I really like Kale, and I like their dynamic. I honestly don't like Dorian at all. Like, it's not that I hate him. I just don't really like him as I'm not attached to him as a character, because he's such a kind of like a pathetic, weak kind of male character and spoiled, and he's not as arrogant as I initially thought, so I did like that came down. Like, he's not as arrogant or haughty as I thought he was, but he's still just young. Like a spoiled weak prince who can't really it's like, okay, I don't care. I just don't care. So unless he really goes through some stuff and gets toughened up, I'm probably not going to care much.
All I'm saying is that in book 1, he's not going to come off as strong because he's young and experienced and he has went through nothing up until that point.
And for me, when there's a strong female character, you have to have like strong male characters to like offset that, or it kind of feels like the female character's walking all over the guy, figuratively speaking, not literally, because she doesn't walk all over Dorian. But so I feel like Hale kind of holds up against her pretty nice. Dorian does not.
He definitely does that.
I just don't like weak male characters next to strong female characters. Like, you have to have like a Rhysand or a Xaden, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, even like Dane was like a stronger male character.
It needs to be balanced.
Or the guy from The Serpent and the Wings of Night. Rain? Is that his name?
Rain.
I can never remember his name.
Yeah.
But when I started this, so there was a little bit of a story. I finished Throne of Glass, and I wanted to keep up my reading streak because I've read every day since October, but I want to start with a fresh book on January 1st. And so I was like, what do I do? Because I don't have time to finish a whole nother book before the new year. And so I started to I was going to read an anthology that I was a part of, but I haven't read the other stories in it, called Aphotic Love. So I filmed a whole short starting this book, and then I filmed a second one to post the next day about my first initial thoughts as I started it, because I had to get through the front matter, because she has like a prelude kind of prologue thingy to introduce the whole thing, and it was like really well spoken, so I read that in the short, and then that's when you brought up the idea of Soot Scorched Roses, which I forgot about, and I was like, oh, never mind. So I deleted that one. I have the draft, but I deleted it from social media, or our little thing or whatever, and read this, and the writing style in this immediately captivated me. Like, I have a short, I think I might have released it yesterday, where there was just some lines in the prologue. I was on page 6.
Oh, yeah.
After you get past the front matter, it hit, like, and I read this in the short, but I had to tell you. Okay, hold on, where is it at? He looked at me the same way that he looked at those dead crops, like I was the corpse of a dream, buried in everything he couldn't save. That is the best line I've ever read. Oh my god. And then it was like, where was it? So much lived in that gap, the gap between the things I knew and the things I didn't. So much died there. No matter how many medicines I brewed or remedies I tested. Oh my gosh. And after coming off of Throne of Glass, like,
it's completely different writing styles, like completely different. And I think that's honestly, that's the beauty of books. That's just the beauty of it. Like, it seems like every movie is like a cookie cutter at this point, but it's like the beauty of books is that each writer is uniquely different, and each book is going to come off very different.
Go to a different place. You go to a different place and it gets different experiences.
Yeah.
And like right now I'm on part 2, which I noticed each part is like the first rose, the second rose. I'm like, 6 roses, she's gonna bring him 6 roses. Like, I got I got it now. I like him. Dude, I've never heard an author describe an accent that doesn't exist so specifically.
Yeah.
She was like describing his accent as like accenting the T's or the
Mm-hmm.
something, and then he elongates the O's and the A's. I was like, what does that sound like? So I got the audiobook just so I could listen to like how the narrator does it.
Oh, okay.
And then I'm like, I need to hear a male voice, so I stopped it, but I've listened to a few pieces of his dialogue, how she reads it, just so I can kind of get an accent in my head.
Yeah.
So I like it so far. And I also, my short, I don't know if you saw it, but I did this next to the rose Alicia got
I
me, the
did
light,
see
the
that.
rose
Yeah,
light.
yeah.
I was like,
It's perfect. Yeah.
So I love it so far. I could finish this so quickly, but I'm dragging it out because I want to finish this on New Year's Eve. That way I can start a brand new book on January 1st, but have read every day and keep up my reading streak.
Yeah.
So on New Year's, I'll have to finish this and post my final short and then start something new the next day. So we'll have to remember to do that. But that's my thing.
I have to try to decide. I may end up starting a new book, starting my next book.
Be fun.
Like either tonight or tomorrow, because I can guarantee you I'm going to end up finishing this tonight after we get done live streaming. I'll probably finish it and we can just sit in a call. But yeah, honestly, like I even started typing up my review for this book before I even finished it. And it's like, because I want it. This is probably the very first book that I've instantly been like, I've got to write a review for this. Like there are so many.
That shows how much you're attached to it. You know how much it.
There are so many like truths that are just kind of woven into this book that I'm like, by the end of the book, I'm like, I love this. I love these little nuggets of like. It's just so good.
I need to get there, basically, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm telling you, like it will.
The moral of the story.
Honestly, like you know how in ACOTAR, what happens in the first book, kind of like, just happens, but it has a little bit to do with what happens in the later books, but there's so much more that happens that it just kind of overshadows the rest of it. The first book.
Yeah.
Taking Assassin's Blade out of it, because that's like. Anyway, taking Assassin's Blade out of it, the first book sets the stage. Certain things happen, but the entire plot line of the story hasn't even really started yet by the end of the book. So there's book series, book 2 and 3 are when you really books 2 specifically about halfway through is when you really start, and the end of book 2 is like when you really start seeing things happen. Sorry, my screen is flashing green tonight, and sometimes it does that, sometimes it doesn't. So if you have like epileptic type things, just be warned. So, my screen does that for some weird reason. My camera does anyway.
All right, so we have a book haul. I got some extra money from Christmas, and we went to Target yesterday, and I went to Target again today, and I also got a book for Christmas. So I've included all of this in my book haul. And I don't think we had enough time to really discuss what we bought for what each other bought. Yeah. I think we did buy one of the same books that we talked about a little bit. But the rest of them, it's like, we got to talk about these books. So I'm excited to do our book haul. So do you want to go first?
Sure. Okay, I'm going to start by the two that you actually gifted me for Christmas. The first one is called Long Live Evil. Again, it's like it says at the top, it's time for your villain era, so it's kind of playing off of like the trendy type stuff. But essentially, this girl is dying, and she seizes a second chance at living in one of her favorite books. But it turns out that she is a fictional character, but it turns out she's the villain of the story. So, seems kind of interesting, really cool. And I'm like, I hadn't really read anything like that before, so I'm going to be intrigued. I know you've written something similar where an author goes into her books. I know you've at least worked on a book like that before that's similar. So I'm interested.
Reader, but yeah.
Reader, okay. I wasn't sure if she was a reader or a writer. But yeah.
I actually can't write authors for some reason. I find it awkward to write authors, so I've never written an author character before. I don't know why, but I can't do it. But yeah. Okay. So I love the premise, so I'm excited to see your thoughts on that one.
Yeah.
And if you think I should read it at some point.
Yes.
Probably 2026, because my TBR list is crying right now.
Yeah. I think it's funny how the whole point of this was to shorten our TBR, but yet we have done at least 3 book hauls this year. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
We should do the challenge where we try not to add to our TBR for a month or something and see
Mm,
how long we can go without buying a book.
yeah,
That'd
we could do
be
that.
fun. All right, well, I'm going to start with the newest one I bought today.
Okay.
Which is I can't read it. The Stars Are Dying.
Oh,
So I picked it up
I
yesterday,
almost
put it
picked that
back.
one up. I almost
Honey,
got.
did you look on the inside? I'm going to do something to you
No.
and you're going to hate me.
Oh my god. That is so pretty. So is that
Yeah,
just
and
like the
then
normal? Is that like the normal one, or is that like a special edition?
I
I
have no idea.
I need
And
to get on
then
Amazon and look.
yeah. So the basic, like the interior sounded similar to Serpent in the Wings of Night, and I was like, okay, it's probably a cheap knockoff, and I put it back
Yeah.
yesterday.
Yeah.
But then last night I went over books that are coming out in 2025, and the second book is coming out to this one, and I was like, okay, maybe I'll revisit this one again. But then I read the prologue. And we got a male character, and we got some angst, and we got some crying, and we got some pain, and then we have a chick. And I don't know, it feels like it's starting in the middle of a series, but I checked and triple checked, and it's book 1. But it starts off literally on the first page, spoilers, but it's like the prologue.
Yeah.
Where he's like, his true love is dead, and he has a lot of regret.
Yeah.
And then in the next little bit because I read it in the store, because I was like, I need to read the prologue just to see if I can get into it, and that'll determine whether I buy it or not. And the first page is like something about how she's watching over him, but he doesn't know that she's still alive or something. And there's something to do with constellations. I don't know if she's like became a constellation, or I don't know what's going on, but it actually sounds really good. And then the artwork kind of like sold me on it. So that's my first one that I got today.
Yeah.
With the last of my Christmas money, and now I'm broke, and I'm happy with that. I am totally happy with it.
Yeah, I totally get that.
I've never been so happy to be broke in my life. It's like, okay, I buy 10 books, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Not 10, but you know. All right, next.
Okay, so Ledge by Stacy Miss Wayne, totally saying that wrong. I glanced at this one at the store. It seemed interesting, but I don't know a whole lot about it, so I'm really intrigued. It sounds kind of like takes place in a mountain, like a place called Ledge. A civilization is trapped in a vast chasm and sheer mountain face. Rations are small and living is tough, and there's no escape without befalling a deadly drop. So they're kind of like isolated in this area.
I've had my eye on that one for a while, so yeah. I'm really interested.
So it's what's more, every season the people must present themselves as sacrifice to the Glacians, mysterious and vicious winged creatures that reside beyond the ledge. And then there's a guy that's a half Glacian. She's ripped from her icy home with no idea what will happen to her. So it's kind of like and it says, with a slow burning romance, high stakes, and even higher rewards. So sounds interesting. Like
that does sound good.
Yeah.
You don't know how tempting it is. I haven't bought books for anybody in a long time, and it's like the temptation to keep it for yourself is so strong.
Yeah.
It's like, I gotta give this to Hannah. Yeah. This is her Christmas present. I have to give it to her.
Yeah. That's
all right,
funny.
so mine is kind of like a big group, but I couldn't resist. So I bought Crown of Midnight a little bit before Christmas at some point, and so then yesterday I got Assassin's Blade and Heir of Fire to kind of round it out. So I'm good for a while. That way I can just pick it up and start reading Crown of Midnight next. When I have not really a break, because I don't necessarily need a break, but it's like I'm really intrigued by this series right now. So I don't know if I'm going to read the next one, like book 2, and then I'll pause, because book 3 is a different duology and a different couple, so that seems like a good pause.
Yeah.
And then read a bit of this series and stuff. I don't know yet, but I mean, it's just like the hilarious thing about this, though, is that I've got this. And it's just like, it's going to steal yourself and be funny. But I have a Sarah J. Maas shelf now, so I'm pretty happy with that as well.
Yeah, I'll say I got mine.
Yeah, you got yours all done. I'm running out of space.
I've loaned out my Assassin's Blade and Throne of Glass to a coworker friend, so she needed a new series to dive into over Christmas break, so We'll see.
Hey, there you go.
It's the same one that I
Okay.
loaned Iron Flame to.
Okay.
Not the guy, but the girl. So, yeah.
You're a nice influence. Like, I think
Yeah.
everything I've read this year has been because of you, and like you have made me a book reader again.
Yeah.
Like I even ACOTAR when I first got into reading again.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm reading steadily this year, but ACOTAR last year got me back
Mm-hmm.
into
Yeah.
it. Like broke the ice, so to speak. And so it's
Mm-hmm.
like I have you to thank for everything.
Yeah.
So, all right, what was your next book?
Okay, this one is one I don't know if you saw me pick up or not. It's called Blood of Hercules. And so
All
it's
right, you had me at
essentially
Hercules.
um, it says strongly survive. So it's like in like a first person like blurb, but essentially there's like this Titan infested world where Spartans immortals from 12 royal families have godlike powers and obscene wealth, rule over all. So like these 12 royal families have powers and they rule over everybody. A foster
Wow, that sounds
child with
cool.
nothing. She's like a fostering. Shy, stammering foster child with nothing. I keep my head down, cover my
Mhm.
scars, and focus on excelling in school. At least I try to. Then it happens. My blood test reveals that I'm part of a powerful elite, and one of them, a Spartan. Forced to attend a Spartan War Academy, I undergo the most harrowing test of all time to see if I have what it takes to be an immortal. That's just a few problems. Achilles, Petro, I'm probably saying these wrong, are my scary mentors. Crone, the ferryman of death, and Augustus, the son of war, are my terrifying professors. So it's kind of sounded really interesting. Really kind of a unique thing that I'm like, oh, okay. That might be cool.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting.
That'd be cool.
Kind of seems similar to Percy Jackson, but like no demigod stuff.
No, yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah, it's like a
So
completely, it's like
sounds
more of like
interesting.
an elite, like a class system. Like a
Yeah.
class system type vibe, maybe.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting. It might be like it was different
That's
than
cool.
what I've been reading here lately, and it was like almost like a refreshing kind of thing too. So I'm like, sounds really interesting.
That
Okay.
is cool. Okay, so the next one, I got this for Christmas. My husband got it for me, and you obviously know because you were there. But Assistant to the Villain. So we were actually at Marshall's shopping around one like a little bit before Christmas, and that nowhere else had a copy of this particular one. They all have like the second book, and I pointed it out to my husband and my sister, and I guess I went on and shopped, and he grabbed it and
Hey, there
bought
you
it that very same day. But I've heard so many people talk about this and everything, and even my sister seemed a little interested in it. So, and it's
Yeah.
not something I would usually read, and I feel like it's kind of on the borderline of like still having some potential stakes and like being a fantasy, but like a little bit more on the cozy side.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of interested in this one.
Hmm.
I may end up reading this one next, or Ashes in the Star-Cursed King, so I'm not really sure, but
Yeah.
it looks really good, and I'm actually like this is one of my most anticipated reads, I would say. So I'm pretty excited about that one.
Yeah. Okay. I only got one more. And it's the
Okay, I
one that
got two more.
it's the one we shared. So
Yep.
it's called Where the Library Hides. Um,
Yep.
so it's essentially so for those that are watching this back, because you've obviously read it yourself too.
Yes.
But it's Inez Oliveira travels across the world to Egypt seeking answers about her parents' recent and mysterious death. This is kind of like about her past and her family and all that kind of stuff, and has things like heartbreak, betrayal, and dangerous magic. So it's kind of like that fantasy play on like Egypt, which I know both of us love.
Yeah.
So there's a Tio Ricardo issues an ultimatum about an inheritance. So her uncle Ricardo, so she has to marry a guy. Has to marry
It
a
just
guy
sounds
as a
really
result
good.
of that. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
just sounds really interesting, and so it's kind of become like a planned thing, like a planned marriage might like start by so it's like fates and stuff like that might make a secret plan to ruin her or whatever. So it's kind of sounds really interesting. So like a rivals
Yeah.
to lovers romance, but
Yeah,
with
it just
Egypt
sounds like
in it.
the
It sounded really good. So
Yeah, the ancient Egypt and the kind of the archaeology kind of vibes.
mm-hmm.
I don't know. It just
Yeah.
sounded really intriguing to me.
Yeah,
So
I've read one other book that has that kind of vibe in it, and it was like seems very similar to The Mummy, and it was more of like a romantic comedy
yeah,
suspense type thing, and it was a pretty good book. So like I mean I don't
that's
see
cool.
very many books about Egypt, like ancient Egypt type stuff, or at least I haven't been exposed to any. So like anytime I see it, I'm interested. So
Yeah. Okay, my last one is Quicksilver. So I don't know why, but I've just been wanting to read this for like the longest time because it's been, you see it popping up
mm-hmm.
in kind of circles and everything, and I've heard that it's good. And I've really just wanted to read it so bad for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just really interested in it. I'm excited to read it. I mean, it even has a pronunciation guide. I didn't even look inside of
Ooh.
this book, honestly. But I mean, like,
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of fun. So I don't really even know what it's about, but let's see, 24-year-old Saris Fane is good at keeping secrets. She has powers, picking pockets, so she's like a thief kind of character. She comes
Mm-hmm.
face to face with death, reopens a gateway, and she's transported to a land of ice and snow. The Fae has been people of nightmares until she's landed into a conflict. First of her kind to tread the frozen mountains of Uvala. She binds herself to King Fisher, a handsome Fey warrior who has secrets and nefarious agendas of his own. He'll use her alchemist magic to protect his people no matter he will use her alchemist magic to protect his people no matter what it costs him or her. So
Okay,
it just sounds kind of
sounds
really
interesting.
good. So, yeah. So
Hmm.
I don't know. I think that was a cover buy because I just kept seeing it pop up and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
dude, that cover looks so good. And now I want to read the book,
I've
but then
had a
it's like
lot of
the art is
people
just not
argue
as
that
intriguing as I thought. But
I've had people argue that the male character in that book is on the level of Reese and Zayden.
maybe that's why yeah, maybe
That's what
I
I've
wanted
heard,
to read it.
that people would rate him along with these guys. So
I mean, we've got to, right? So
yeah.
it's gonna
So
be
if you
great.
like it, and
But that one's
if you're
probably
really into it, I'll end up reading it. But at this point, I'm like,
that's
I
good.
don't know. I just it didn't
Yeah,
really catch my
it's one
attention
of
right
those
off the
things.
bat. That, or it could just be I have so many other things in my head that I'm wanting to kind of dive into at the moment
Yeah.
that I've just
Same with me. So I'll be honest, this one has probably got pushed down a little bit, but
yeah.
um, I mean, my priorities are literally Throne of Glass series,
Yeah.
Assistant to the Villain, The Serpent and the Wings of Night, the Crowns of Naxia series.
One
So for me,
yeah.
those are the focus right
One
now.
thing I noticed when we were shopping for books the other day, one thing I noticed that I'm starting to catch myself doing since I'm towards the end of like the Throne of Glass series, like when I read blurbs, like there were at least a couple books that seemed like, I don't know, it was either they were about assassins or they were like
Uh-huh.
shadow wielders that were fae, or some shadow magics or some light magic, whatever. And I'm like, for whatever reason, it either reminded me of Throne of Glass, which I had several that I'm like, oh, that seems like a Throne of Glass plot. That seems like a Throne of Glass plot, you know, or like
Yeah.
a, oh, that seems like a Reese or a Zayden power, you know, even though there's no,
Raiden.
you know what I'm saying? Like it seems like a Reese power.
Yeah.
And I don't know, to be fair, I mean, each of the two series were started in like the teens, like 20 teens, whatever dates. They very well, she
Mm-hmm.
very well could have been taking inspiration from some of those books. Who knows? But I don't know. I've gotten into this thing where I'm kind of comparing things to like the Throne of Glass, and it's like I was even
Throne of Glass,
looking.
Akatar, and Fourth Wing, I feel like.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I know Fourth Wing is new, so it's not really fair for me to compare Fourth Wing to things and say other things sound like Fourth Wing, because they very well could have been published before Fourth Wing. I don't know, because Fourth Wing seems relatively. It's like a relatively new novel from what I remember. So, um,
Mhm.
I just know that,
Mostly the Zayden character that's like the shadow guy, the
yeah.
shadow guy trope.
And so it's
So,
like that and like assassins and stuff. I'm just like, or anything with
yeah.
like a
I
light power or like a bright light power, and I'm
Mhm.
like, okay.
Yeah. Honestly, like, and for me, it's feels kind of rare to find a blurb with a book that really stands out as, oh, that's different. And that's why, like, Assistant to the Villain really jumped out at me, because it's like, oh, you know, I don't know anything else that's similar to
The
this. Or
Serpent and the Wings of Night. That's why that jumped out
Yeah.
to me originally, because it was so different, and that's why
Yeah.
like that first book, I'm like, oh, okay, this is like I like
Oh,
soaked
and
it
it was
up.
written different too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It
100%.
was way more
So,
gritty,
and to be fair, from the author side of things, sometimes I don't know if they are actually similar, because obviously we haven't read them and I'm judging by the blurbs too.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's why I really put down that star one that's down here, because I was like, oh, that's a knockoff of, you know, Serpent in the Wings of Night, probably. Whether it will be or not is to be seen. But like, for some reason there's like a formula to like blurb writing, and I'm horrible at this. Like, every author is like, oh, I can't write a blurb for my own book. Like, we all go through it. I feel like I'm not the only one, but it's like there's a formula to blurb writing that, like, in order to get people to want to buy your book, and if you know how to do it, you know how to do it. So sometimes it could be just that blurb formula kind of coming out.
Yeah.
Or
That's
people
fair.
writing because, hey, that's what's in, this is the trend. Some people will just buy, copy, paste. That's why certain subgenres in romance are, you know, popular, is because it's the same thing. Like billionaire romances, they're the exact same plot, change the name of the characters, and you just keep selling books, and it's still a thing. You know, which is sad, because like, I know, like me, I like different kinds of like you said, different, you know, something that stands out as different and unique. Along that same lines, though, the hottest trend in publishing, since we're talking about like publishing trends or whatever, I lost the article because it's wanting me to sign it. But basically, the article that, from what I remember, it was talking about is how, like, it was like Onyx Storm and Fourth Wing, and how they did the sprayed edges and stuff. And like, there's the Fourth Wing copy that have the dragons on the outer edges, and how it was something like, I think it was the author or somebody said, by not doing it, you're showing that the book is not worthy to be collectible or collected. And so it's like the collectible edition is becoming a thing, not just in Kickstarters, but like now, like when we were book shopping, I didn't realize how many sprayed edges and special edition hardbacks are actually on bookshelves. It's become a thing. Yeah, and I can't resist buying them. I don't like it makes it hard not to, just because it looks pretty and you want to sit it on your shelf and stuff. And especially if the blurb sounds interesting. It's like, okay, then there's no reason for me not to buy it. You know what I'm saying? Like, but except for the bank accounts and all that stuff. But it's like, I didn't realize how much of a thing that is, that it's now even selling in stores. So it's like, we authors, take notes, because we got to keep up with all this. Which, for reference, there isn't a print-on-demand company that we use like Amazon that actually does sprayed edges. So either you have to do it yourself, or you have to do a print run, which is where they require you to order a minimum number of books. And you have like, and it's a risk, because you're paying like $500 for like however many copies. And you like, you don't know if you're going to sell that much, so you don't know if you can earn your money back. So it's like, if you have the money, are you willing to take the financial hit and the risk that, from the author side of things. But I just found it kind of interesting as a topic, because as a reader, I love buying them. As an author, I really want to make them, but I don't know how. So
yeah, for sure. All right. I only had one thing.
Okay.
Christopher Nolan. He's the guy that directed Oppenheimer, if you remember. It was that one and Barbie were the two big blockbuster hits. Probably the most recent,
or whatever.
Yeah. So it was like he directed Oppenheimer. So it's been announced that pre-production is going for his next movie, and they've already announced who's starring in it and everything. Christopher Nolan is making an adaptation of the Odyssey.
Ooh.
I know, I'm so excited. Okay, and so listen to this cast list. My dude, are you prepared for this?
I don't know. You're making
7
me anxious.
cast members. Okay, Zendaya. Anne Hathaway.
Oh my God.
Tom Holland.
Oh.
Matt Damon. Robert Pattinson.
Oh my God, you're kidding.
Charlize Theron, the girl that played in Mighty Joe Young. The female.
Okay, I don't know that.
No, like the Mighty Joe Young movie. Have you ever seen that movie? With the big gorilla?
No.
The blonde female. She's really good. I love her.
Okay. I've
Um,
seen commercials for like trailers, so I
Charlize
know.
Theron, and
Okay.
then
Oh my god.
Lupita. I feel so horrible for mispronouncing this. Nyong'o. She played. I'm believing she played in Black Panther, maybe. Yes, she
Okay,
played
yeah.
Nakia in Black Panther.
Ooh, okay.
So yeah,
All right.
well she played Maz Kanata in one of the Star Wars movies too. But
Okay.
yeah, so like that's literally the seven cast members that have been announced already.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Dude, that's gonna be so good.
and it was like took all over TikTok. They have pictures on IMDb already. 7, 27, 27, 17, 26. It
Ooh,
looks so good. So you have to pull it up in
it sounds good.
yeah. And we know Odyssey. The Odyssey is probably one of the foundational novels, the adventure type story novels that like
Yep.
inspire like all of these other adventure stories. It's like one of those novels that just like is probably one of a big influence in a lot of people's writings, and so it's like
Yeah. It's so good.
yeah.
Fun fact, I actually added the Iliad potentially too. That was part of
Mm.
PewDiePie's book challenge. So the Iliad was going to be
Ooh.
later on. So I was like, I've never actually read the Iliad or the Odyssey, like the original stories.
I've read
So
parts of them in
might be
school, but I don't
interesting
think
too.
I've read the full thing.
Yeah, I mean in school. Yeah, I probably did read them in school, but who remembers those days?
I say the books are so long. I doubt we read all of them. I'm pretty sure we read passages out of them.
My high school teacher always did the cliff note, like she would summarize, like we would read the
Okay.
original and then have us like recap
Yeah.
it in the cliff notes and
Yeah.
stuff. So, all right, so Onyx Storm. I know we talk about Onyx Storm theories, but it'll come out the end of January. Then you guys will be
Yeah.
done. We'll be
We'll
done
be
with it.
done with
Okay.
it. Okay.
Um. Okay, so it was talking about how I guess there was this bonus chapter at the end of Iron Flame, which I don't remember if I read it or not. I probably did, but whatever. How Xaden and Violet were sleeping together, and spoilers, by the way, for Iron Flame, Onyx Storm, the
Okay.
whole series.
Okay.
But they were sleeping together after the battle, and it doesn't like we don't know when exactly or what was going on between those two events, but like they didn't seem too concerned with Xaden's condition, and she was more mourning her mother.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I remember reading it and thinking that. And so it's like it's been set up that Xaden turning Venom was set up to be a major plot point in book
Mm-hmm.
3. So it's interesting that every glimpse at like the new edition has been where it's downplayed. That massive reveal is a direct quote from the article
It
writer.
could be that they're. It
It
could
seems
be.
that neither Violet nor Xaden are too concerned.
It could be that they're keeping it. They're like downplaying the whole thing to keep it hush hush. Because
Yeah, I'm like that's my first
like
thought was like I'm
honestly,
not going to reveal
the
all the
main
things.
like the main scene. Well, I mean like Zayd not so much the writer, but like um Zayden and Violet. Zayden's right. Zayden's the right name.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. We've had so many characters lately. Um, like
Yeah,
I
you're
could
good. You're
easily
good.
see Zayden and Violet keeping it hush hush and just trying to solve it themselves at the start because if you think about it, like he literally holds
We're trying to be
the
normal.
seat to the main country that is the main rebellion that's head of the rebellion.
Oh,
So like if
that's
that
another
were to
conflict
come
I didn't think
like
about.
if that were to come out that he has been turned venom, like that would destroy the entire rebellion, the entire uprising, this
And they're
entire
trying to
thing.
hold the
That
rebellion
they're trying to
together.
hold these things
Ooh,
together. So the fact that he's become venom, they almost can't say anything because if
that
they
is such
were to say
a hot
something,
conflict, though.
yeah.
Oh, I love that.
And honestly,
All right, so we
it
got
would
that
add
theory.
high
We came up with our own.
it would add high stakes into the whole thing because they only have so long before it's going to start showing. And so it's
Yeah, and he's
like
gonna have to keep it secret. And
that would
I
play
wonder
into the
if the
why that
guy
it's
who is working on Jack is gonna if they're gonna have to turn to him at some point to help Xaden or like keep it on the
could be
DL.
could be.
Let us know what you guys if you guys are
I
looking
could
forward
see
to Onyx
that.
Storm.
Yeah.
Your theories.
Yeah, I could
Yep.
see them doing that to be honest with you.
All right. So, The Winds of Winter. I know none of us, like me and you, don't read Game of Thrones, but Game of Thrones fans, The Winds of Winter. Basically, it was like a podcast, and um there was an author named Sean Speakman, which I don't know who the author is, but it was an event hosted by Brandon Sanderson, and there was another author on there that was saying that based on what he's heard from George R. Martin, his editor, that he's been working with, that they may have to divide it into two parts because he's starting to reach like the page limit of what a book can hold, how long a book can be.
Yeah.
And so, okay, he says, yeah, he noted the challenges of fitting all the material into a single book. And he said, so I try to respect George's space and not ask him directly, but I know how many pages have been sent to Harper Voyager. I know how many pages he's roughly gotten completed. Otherwise, I talk to his editor, Anne Growell, probably monthly, and I know how many pages they can physically put in a book. And he is either at that amount or nearly. So it's more about whether they will convince him to split Winds of Winter or if he will hold out for the ending that he's been wanting to do. So is he going to end the book or is he going to have to split it is kind of like the big question. And whether it's going to be split into two.
Honestly, I could see him writing the entire thing and then just splitting the book in half. Splitting it in half.
That's kind of what I would do, is go ahead and write it so he has it done, especially
with
all the pressure.
Like Lord of the Rings film thing where you just finish the entire thing and then you split it up based on how you want it split. So that way he's still writing the ending that he wants, but instead of one more book, the fandom would get two.
Yeah,
I could see that. I could see that being a realistic thing. And considering the fact that they're talking with editors and editors are looking at it and all those things, I would say it's honestly probably pretty promising that eventually they may get it. It's just a matter of whether they get the one or they get the two. They get the ending at all or they don't. So it just kind of depends. But like we said,
being a Game of Thrones fan when that book comes out, though, like the announcement and like the publishing, like the rejoicing, like we've been looking forward to Onyx Storm for like a handful of months, but I can't imagine waiting 13 years. Oh my gosh.
I couldn't even imagine.
Bro.
Well, like, and that's where if you, like, the people that read ACOTAR at the beginning, like, they had to wait a decent chunk of time before they got Silver Flames. And I'm just like, I can't even imagine, like, I've come into these fandoms later in life, and I'm like, I can't even imagine having to sit and wait 10 years to the next book in a series. Like, I can't even imagine.
Like, like, I'll never forget, Avatar: The Last Airbender, the cliffhanger, watching the TV show, the cliffhanger of the end of Book 2, Earth. And it took forever for Season 3, Book 3, Fire to come out, and we waited forever. I also did the same thing with, like, City of Bones, a Mortal Instrument series.
Yeah, I remember
like,
that
I read the first 3 books, like, she closed the trilogy, and then years later came out with a 4th one, and so I had to wait for, like, books 4 through, like, 6 or 7 at that point. But it's like, oh, you finished the trilogy, and I thought we were done, and it's like, it was pretty intense.
Yeah.
So the last one that I had was, like, 10 Feyre memes, and so I thought they were really, like, they may be really funny, but, like, some of them are, like, more picture-based, so I can try to describe them, but that may ruin the, like, the whole meme thing. So the first one is, like, Feyre after learning how to read, and it's like Feyre 3 months after learning how to read, and it's this old man, and he's like,
that's funny.
Like, just so dead serious.
That's funny.
And it looks like he's got a crown and he's got a scepter, so it's like this old king, and it's like,
oh, that's funny.
That's so funny. Okay, I mean, she's not wrong. So it's Tamlin. Hybern plans to break the wall tomorrow. Tamlin leaves room. Feyre. Paper magically pops up with pen. Lucian. Blank. Feyre writes and sends back, and then Lucian and Feyre don't say anything, and then it's Feyre. Get with the winning team here. I don't know if I understood that.
That's funny.
Okay. Lucian telling Feyre how to trap the Suriel, and it's an Office meme where the main funny guy is on the phone. I think you're overthinking it, and it's Feyre, a human teenager. I think you're underthinking it.
Yeah. That's funny. Gotta love Office memes.
Are always the best.
I love The Office. Yeah. It's so funny.
Seriously, Lucian and Feyre forever. And it's Lucian. Do not under any circumstances drink the Fey wine. And it's this guy, and he's like, and then he's like dancing around with wine in his hands, and it's like Feyre. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that is so true.
I think I've seen that one. That one's funny.
All right. Azriel and Feyre are a strong second, though, and it's too dangerous to sneak into Hybern's camp and rescue Elaine. And then Feyre dressed as Iantha and Azriel 2 minutes later, and they're like dancing together.
That's funny.
Yeah, Iantha had it coming, to be fair. Feyre outside the Weaver's cottage hearing Iantha get ripped to shreds, and she's just like, I mean, kind of like, low-key, she deserved it.
Low-key.
Okay. Yep, we love a good Prithian monster bestie. Alice, stay away from the monsters and do not make any bargains. And then Feyre, ... And then it has the Suriel, Baraxis, the Weaver, and they're all people in like the horror guy costumes where it's like, the Reaper guy and the guy from, oh my god, I'm so bad at horror movies. The clown and then the other serial killer kind of guy. Yeah. All those horror guys.
Oh, that's funny.
Yes. Okay, Tamlin, not so much. Tamlin trying to figure out why Feyre left him. And it's another office me. And he's like, apart from trapping her in my manor, I have been so kind to that woman.
I love that.
That was actually pretty good.
That's funny.
So some of the words were highlighted and changed, but it still fits.
Yeah, no, I like that.
All right, number 9. Girl, we've all been there. And the Feyre, is this love? And it's like, it's an anime guy, and he's talking to a butterfly, and the butterfly is like a toxic, overprotective, and abusive male who stole you from your home and imprisoned you. And it's like, is this love?
Is this love? No. This is kidnapping.
And then, no, that's kidnapping. All right, number 10, the final meme. JK, it's back to Feyre and Lucien. The video stopped. Okay, I gotta replay it. Feyre and Lucien walking back to the spring court to get yelled at by Tamlin for sending the bog after the twins. And they're just like freaking funny. Out. So, those are funny. They're funnier if you can see them, but I like it.
They still sound funny.
Yep. Alright, I gotta get a drink.
Okay. I can't remember what else we had on our agenda for this evening to talk about.
I think that was about it. Yeah, I know I finished this one on December 24th, I think.
Mine will be finished tonight.
So, and then I started this one the next day. So I started this on Christmas. So I've been reading this for 2 days, but I'm going purposefully slow. Yeah. So it's like I'm doing like a chapter or two. I'm trying to drag it out, but then it's like if I don't finish it on the 31st, at least I won't really want to start something new on January 1st. So I'm going to be reading hard. I may try to make a lot of progress and then just like slow down.
Yeah, that's fair.
The closer we get, but
yeah, I'm trying to decide if I want to start reading The Wicked King on my Kindle, if I want to read A Songbird in the Heart of Stone, because the physical version of the one that takes place in between those two, it hasn't come out on hardback yet, so I don't know. But at the same time, I want to start reading A Songbird in the Heart of Stone, kind of.
Yeah.
But I also want to kind of get back into The Wicked King a little bit, just to see if I'm still interested in that series. I don't know.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't know if I want to be on my Kindle.
Yeah. It could, I don't know, like, it could be, like, because I thought you'd mentioned something about your Kindle the other day. Yesterday, where you've read so many physical books that you could jump back to your Kindle. Like me, I was planning next year, which we'll talk about in we're still gonna do one more video.
Our yearly wrap up. Yeah,
we're setting up 2025. Your yearly wrap up. But when I was setting that up, I realized none of the books on my TBR list are on my Kindle. Like that one Mongolian romance that I intended to read in November and never got to it. It's like been pushed down. Mm-hmm. So it's like really interesting. Like I am a physical book reader and I'm really proud of it, and that's fine. But I just haven't used my Kindle very much. Yeah. So I use it sometimes for like my books, but
here's the thing. I like having the physical book. It's just something satisfying about reading an actual book. But at the same time, I find that I make more progress on the Kindle because it's a constant click, so it feels like I'm reading more, so I don't get like worn down or get discouraged because I feel like I'm taking too long. So it's a really interesting vibe. I do like my Kindle. I if I highlight something and put a thought to it, I have to type it out. And the keyboard on my Kindle is just, the keyboard lags sometimes. And so, I don't know. It's just like really
Yeah, I get
finicky.
that.
And with I have fat fingers anyway, but then I have my nails on top of that, so it just kind of makes it hard to type on my Kindle.
Yeah.
But I do
See,
like
for
that
me,
it
there's a
will.
couple.
But like on Goodreads, one last thing, sorry. On Goodreads, it will
Yeah, okay.
actually it shows you the highlight that you made, the quote, like the quote from the actual book, and then the note that you added with it, which is interesting, which I do like. Anyway.
Yeah, I need to see if mine actually syncs up to that or not. But I know for me, I love physical. I always prefer physical books, but I read on the couch, and we don't like the lighting over there is okay. But I do read in the dark, and sometimes that's okay for me. But sometimes it's like I need light, so I do like that my Kindle. I have it like I noticed yours looks black and white, or at least from what I've glimpsed of it. So mine is like has color and all that, but the light from the screen helps me more. And on my Kindle, I can actually highlight it and take notes, and I've found a good typing system on mine. Whereas I don't like annotating the books because I want my copies to stay clean, and I'm like I didn't know that was like a thing, and so I don't
I
like
use transparent sticky notes.
annotating. Yeah, and so I just don't have transparent sticky notes. But so for me, I don't. So the only way I can ever annotate is on my Kindle. But I prefer physical books just because the whole vibe, the pages, and
So
everything. But the lighting is better.
if people don't know what transparent sticky notes are, they're literally just see-through sticky notes. The one thing that I found that the only thing that I can write on them without it getting smearing is like the thin Sharpies, like the fine tint, but it dries really fast and it doesn't smudge, and you just write what you want on there. And since it's see-through, you can just put it on like in the middle of the page on top of the words, and you can still see the words underneath. So
yeah, that makes sense.
If writing in your books freaks you out or scares you, or you don't want to do it, but you still want to start annotating, that's a good way to start.
Yeah. And I need more, like, a lot of my annotating stickers I save for when I'm proofreading my own books, and so I don't want to use any of those. Because with me, I can get an author copy, which on a proof copy on Amazon has that line around it, which is dumb. And so, like, I'll get, like, Immortal, like, not for resale. And so for me, it's like, okay, well, I don't mind writing in it because, you know, it's not going to be resold anyway. And so I have got my own little annotating system, and I'll use red for like edits that need to be done. Okay. And then I'll highlight them when I've got them implemented in the document. So I have a nice little annotating system done.
Yeah.
Proof copies, but so I save most of mine for that. But yeah. So I think that's about it. We did our book haul and all the news and stuff. So how are your guys' December TBRs going? Yeah. Are you still reading anything or taking a break till the new year?
Yeah.
Let us know.
What's your final number for the total books that you've read this year? So mine, once I finish this, mine will be 24. I went 4 past my initial goal, because last year I ended on 20. So this year my starting goal was 20, if I remember correctly. So this year, since I finished on 24 this year, my starting goal for next year will be 24, because that's how I do it, is that if I don't meet 24 this year, then my goal still stays 24 for the next year until I meet it, and then how many I ever go past will become my new one.
Oh, okay. That's cool. I know Throne of Glass made 20 for me, and I was at 19, and remember when I started Throne of Glass, I was like, I'm going to make it 20 because it's an even number, and it'll give me the motivation to finish this before the end of the year. So I completed my Goodreads goal, finished Throne of Glass, so if I finish this one before we're on the 31st, it will be number 21. And my goal for next year is going to be 24, because I was thinking I need to read at least 2 books a month. And that's 24 books, obviously. But I have more than 24 on my list, which we can go over in our next video. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Yeah. We're going to see what happens. So Sounds I'm pretty excited. But let us know what your numbers are and everything. And we will see you guys in the next one.
All right. Talk to y'all later. Bye.
Yep. Bye.